Hi, I got a new camera, so we are looking crisp, girl, okay? It's also been a while since I recorded. Oh my god, I think it's been like 2.5 weeks. Lacking. Happy July. I am kind of just like in a weird spot. Last year at this time, I was in Ireland. I think I was actually in Dublin for the 4th of July. And this summer, I am home. And I don't know, I don't really celebrate the 4th of July. So I'm just like, ugh, I live in a beach town too. So everything is super busy. But I wanted to come on here and talk about everything that I read in June. Fair warning, it wasn't really that much. I had said in my last video that I was just like so busy the first few weeks that I didn't really get a lot of reading in, but I managed to fit in 4 books, kind of. I'll get into it, but I do have some good stuff in here. My first one that I'll start out with for you is Atalanta. Again, so in my last video I recorded, I had just finished this and I kind of gave an overview of it, but basically, if you're new, hi, I'm on a Jennifer Saint kick, and I had read Ariadne. It became one of my like most favorite books I had ever read. I was like, okay, let me get into Atalanta. And I did really love this. My thing with Jennifer Saint is that she does do a lot of research before she writes. And everything she writes is also a feminist retelling. I didn't know Atalanta's story at all, kind of went in blind, but essentially the overview of it is that she was left on a cliffside as an infant and rescued by a bear, where she was then raised by the bear and her cubs until she was about a toddler, I believe, and then Artemis and her nymphs raised her. The story really picks up whenever she enters adulthood, and she is sent to go on Jason's quest with him. She's the only woman, and it's just a story of her proving herself and saying, I'm just as good, if not better, than any man that I stand next to. And of course, also with living in the woods and not really being around men. If you don't know, Artemis was completely celibate, and so were her nymphs. So she had never really been around men, and she had always been told, you don't marry, you don't have kids, you know, don't let them get to you, just be your own woman. Throughout this journey, she really starts to question that. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of layers to it. How it's essentially like becoming a woman for the first time and really experiencing everything that comes with that. It was a very beautiful story, as everything that Jennifer does is. I didn't like it as much as I liked Ariadne, but I still did rate it very high because it is incredibly well written. I personally can't relate to Atalanta that much, whereas with Ariadne I could see so much of myself in her, and so I think that is just why I preferred it. I still have to read Hera and I still have to read Electra. I'm slowly making my way through my summer TBR. I am almost done with it, so when I do another book haul, I will most likely be grabbing those two. Next, okay, picking up where I left off in my last video, I was reading First Time Caller. I think when I was recording, I was at like page 100. I think it was literally just like flat page 100. I had said that this was just a little bit too cozy for me, but I didn't want to DNF it because here's the thing. I do love this story. I think it is a very sweet story. I like these characters. I really like Lucy, the female main character. She is a mom to a preteen girl. That's another thing. I like that they are adults, right? As someone who's like 25, sometimes I read romance novels and it's like, she's 18, and I'm like, oh fuck. So this was nice, but it was just a little bit too cozy for me. Fair warning, I am not like just a flat romance reader a lot of the time. The thing is, although it wasn't for me, that does not mean it was bad, right? Romance has its place, it has its purpose. And honestly, I don't like shitting on romance. I think romance just gets a lot of shit because it is something that women enjoy, and I don't ever want to come on here and be like, I'm just not like other girls. It's not me. However, yeah, I couldn't really get into this. Nothing to do with the writing. It was just it's a slow burn, and I just kind of found myself getting a little bit bored with it. I remember at one point I ended up jumping like 4 chapters and I just picked up like it was nothing. So I said I don't want to DNF it, but I am going to skim read it, and I did that. And yeah, like I said, it was cute. If you are into romance and you just love a good slow burn romance, this is a good one, okay? We'll stay on the topic of romance because I got Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. I got this the day that it dropped, but I didn't get to it until maybe like 2 weeks ago. Going from First Time Caller to this, I was kind of like, But the thing with me is that I read everything I own. And I don't like having a super long TBR because it just overwhelms me. So I buy my books in small batches, usually like 6 or 7 at a time. I read through those and then I go buy more. So I was like, I have to read this book. Let's get it out of the way. If you haven't read Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, this is connected to that. The main male character in Not in Love, this is his sister and his best friend. And here's the thing with Not in Love. It is one of my least favorite Ali Hazelwood books. You can see on my shelf, I have her special editions. I love Ali Hazelwood. I think that her sense of humor is just so like unmatched when it comes to writing, because I don't know if you guys have ever read a romance book and you can tell that you're supposed to laugh, but like nothing's funny, right? Or it's supposed to be quirky and it's just not, and it falls flat. Butcher and Blackbird, I believe that's what that book was called. I couldn't get into it and I found myself almost like cringing while reading it. That was like why I DNF'd it, because I was like, this just isn't funny to me. I don't like this. But with Ali Hazelwood, I do think that she is actually very funny. Her and I have a very similar sense of humor. So due to not liking Not in Love, or due to kind of just being like about it, I was a little nervous going into this, but I loved it. I loved this book, okay? I finished this in like a day and a half, I think. It was so incredible. It is a little taboo with the age gap, but it's nothing crazy. She is 23. What's their age gap? Hold on. She's 23 and he's 30. Girl, where is it? 38. So it is there, but I don't think that it's like gross or immature or very fetishy in any way. And yeah, I think it's incredibly well written. I always have a hard time reviewing romance books because I never want to spoil anything, but essentially these two are trapped in Italy for a wedding, forced proximity, right? And there is just a lot of miscommunication between them that they have to work out. It's great. Can't recommend this enough. My last and final book, oh my gosh, okay. I had said that I was going to do an unboxing of my June Fairy Loot Romantasy box, and I did. I did a YouTube short, but I had big plans of doing a reading vlog, and I really sat and thought about it, and I was like, no, probably not. It was very highly anticipated, and I know that a lot of people were very excited about that. I just kind of felt like a little bit of an imposter going into it and talking about it whenever I know nothing about it. So this is Rose and Chains by Julie Soto. Apparently It is based off of a Draco and Hermione fan fiction called The Auction, I believe. I haven't read it, and that was a big reason as to why I was like, maybe I should leave this to the other girls. So I went into this with zero expectations. It just showed up in my mailbox, and like I said, I read everything that I buy, and I pay $40 fucking for this a month, okay? I sat down what I was doing. I'm currently reading A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon, and I was like, pause, let me get in on this. I loved it. I loved it. There is some criticism for it, and I think that it is all valid. There are some holes in the magic system that I won't get into because I don't want to spoil anything. The magic system is a very big part of this book. I did see someone who has read the fan fiction say that if you haven't read Harry Potter and you haven't read the fan fiction, the character relationships and the dynamics between all of them might be kind of hard to understand. And as someone who never finished the Harry Potter series, I know that is blasphemous, I'm sorry. And as someone who didn't read the fan fiction, I can see how that would make sense. In a way, there are a lot of characters in here. There are, and I found myself getting a little bit confused. There's a lot of C names in this book. But as it goes on, you end up, catching up and better understanding it. So, like I said, all valid criticisms. However, we can still criticize the things that we like, and we should when it comes to books and art and all that, right? These things are created to be criticized and talked about. But I really love this. As someone who doesn't fully know the history or like who hasn't read the fan fiction that's based off of, I still thought that this was really good. I gave it 5 stars. It has been so long since I have sat down and just binged a romantasy, especially within the last 1.5 to 2 years. I will read anything that gets a lot of attention and is popular because I want to know why people are talking about it, right? With the exception of a few things, I will not buy like Silver Elite. I don't want to. I have watched, is it Callie Can Read? I watched her in-depth like vlog on it, and I just have no interest in supporting something like that because I think it's just a cash grab. So that's not for me. However, most romantasies that come out that get very popular or that Fairy Loot sends me, I do read, and I can't help but agree that within the last like 1.5 to 2 years, the marketing for some of these books is just like so ridiculous, and then you get them and they're not good. They are just a cash grab sometimes. It's like the most half-assed surface level romance, and then they kind of just like throw a magic system in there. And I don't like that, right? I don't enjoy it. It feels so flat. Like if you're going to throw in fantasy, make it fantasy, right? Like your romance can still be at the forefront of the story, but give me something. Give me some world building, give me some sustenance. Give me like a good magic system. And this was really a breath of fresh air. I loved how political this was. I love that there was no like tiptoeing around these really harsh topics. I hate when that's done when you're talking about slavery, sexual abuse, and it's like, oh, it's like, no, if you're gonna talk about it, like talk about it, right? And I think that that also leads to this conversation that's currently happening where people are like, oh, well, reading isn't political, I just want to like turn my fucking brain off, blah 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 blah. And it's like, what do you're reading about war, right? Like at Fourth Wing, they're in a fucking war college. What do you mean you're turning off your brain? And I kind of like that Julie Soto did this, and it's dark as fuck, and it is super raw, and it's just like, this is political. Like you can't avoid it. It's very dystopian, and I just think that it was done right. I will say, I am shocked that this is marketed as a romantasy. Hear me out. When I think romantasy, I'm assuming that like romance is at the forefront of it, right? It's the main story, these two people, they're falling in love, there's a lot of sacrifice, there's a lot of perseverance. That's usually how it goes, right? Like we can use Akatar because it's just the most common example. Like it's based off of Tam Lin, that Scottish fairy tale, and then also A Beauty and the Beast retelling. Those are both like very heavy in romance, right? And with this, don't get me wrong, there is romance, but I wouldn't say that it is like the main point. Like if anything, when I was reading this, I would almost consider it like a grimdark because it was so dystopian. Grimdark romantasy, maybe that's a thing. I could get into that. But yeah, I was a little confused. I definitely think that this book sets up book number 2 to be heavier on the romance. There's like 1 or 2 consensual kind of spicy scenes in here. There's like an oral scene, and then that's kind of what you get without like a little bit of dirty talk sprinkled in between it. But yeah, like I said, I love this. Love it, love it, love it. I gave it 5 stars. On the topic of like Draco and Hermione fanfictions, I have seen some people saying that they are a little bit worried about Alchemized coming out and all the marketing that it's getting on Book Talk as a romantasy, and how they're worried that people on TikTok will like buy this book thinking that they're getting a romantasy and then it'll be super dark and not really what a traditional like romantasy is, because it is very dystopian. I haven't read Manacled. I haven't read fucking anything. I'm like, yeah, I haven't read that, but here I am talking about it. When I finally got around to like having the chance to sit down and read Manacled, it had already been pulled because of Alchemized being traditionally published. I just don't want to buy it bound by someone off of like Etsy, right? Because that is illegal. Like they're selling this woman's work. And so it's just not for me. But I wish I had read it. I wish I had jumped on that. But I am very excited for Alchemized, and I do understand people being nervous about it. I am kind of interested to see how the public takes it and what they do with it. I have seen the arcs, and oh my gosh, it's like over 1,000 pages or something like that, which I am very excited about. I love world building. I want all the details. You guys know, well, maybe I only have 2 videos on here, but some of my favorite books are very high fantasy with a lot of world building. One of my like most favorite books ever is The Priory of the Orange Tree. That's the first in the series, and it's like what, 806 pages. I'm just rambling at this point. That is everything I read for June. Like I said, it's not that much. I am at like 36 books for the year or something. Okay. I am currently reading A Day of Fallen Night. Finally got around to that. I'm not that deep into it. Not yet. I think I'm only on page like 70, but I am working on it. And then after that, my Fairy Loot copy of A Crowns of Silver is supposed to come in, and I am very excited for that. One of my favorite, I guess like subgenres of fantasy is folklore and fairy tale retellings. I loved A Feather So Black. I know that a lot of people thought that it was quite boring, but I couldn't get enough of it. Swan Lake is one of my just, you want to talk about a Roman Empire, girl? Me and Swan Lake. I could talk about it all day. But I loved A Feather So Black. I have held off on reading A Crown So Silver because I don't want to have like too many editions of one book. So I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. Okay, I'm rambling. I'm gonna cut this video off. This is what I get for not recording for almost 3 weeks. All right. Mwah. Thank you for listening to me talk. As always, it means a lot to me. Bye.